This is a little fierce. Just barely made it. In this video, I would like to share the story of how one small town managed to escape the devastation of the worst tsunami in Japanese recorded history. First, let me get somewhere away from these waves. So loud, I bet you can hardly hear me. It's a little bit quieter here. And it's snowing. The Sanriku Coast of Japan is the northeastern edge of the main island Honshu. It's more than 200 kilometers long, and it's recognizable by the sawtooth-shaped peninsulas that jut out into the ocean, what's called a Rias coastline, though I didn't know that word until I came to this area of Japan. The ocean just off the Sanriku Coast here is said to be one of the 3 best fishing grounds on the entire planet. I'm not much of a fisherman, but I love this area because of these 200-meter cliffs that are jutting out all over the coastline. Apparently archaeologists have found lots of different fossils around here, as the cliffs up here were once on the bottom of the ocean, and all sorts of tectonic plate movement more than 10 million years ago pushed them up to their current height. But the top of the bluffs all along this coast here, yeah, once were the bottom of the ocean. Of course, this coastline has also been devastated by countless tsunami. It's said that nearly once every 40 or so years, another tsunami strikes this area. The most recent tsunami that have been well documented were in 1896, in the Meiji period, in 1933, and then a slightly smaller one in 1960 caused by an earthquake all the way down in Chile in South America. And then, of course, the recent just devastating one in 2011. The local people who have made their lives in the villages all along this coast have been passing down their wisdom on how to live with the ocean and survive these disasters that continuously batter the coast here. This wisdom takes many forms. In some cases, there are these stone monuments that they erected at the edge of where the tsunami reached. And so they would be a big stone monument basically saying, do not build any homes south of this point. And of course, the oral traditions, the wisdom of what to do in case of a tsunami and how tsunamis even work are other aspects of this. For example, I didn't know, being from the middle of North America, a place called Wisconsin, anything about tsunami. And so, for example, one thing that I had no idea is that before a tsunami strikes, the water pulls all the way out deep into the ocean. And so you've got the bottom of the ocean, the sea bottom, visible in areas where it never was before. And then it comes. In the 1950s, a lot of municipalities started to build seawalls to protect their municipalities against future tsunami. Some in the 1960s and the 70s followed suit. One of the earlier towns to build their seawall was called Taro. It's now part of Miyako City, but at the time it was its own town. And in Taro, they finished their seawall in the late 1950s, just a couple of years before the 1960 tsunami struck. And in that case, the tsunami did not go beyond their seawall. When the 2011 tsunami struck, it hardly slowed it down, and it wiped out the entire downtown area there. And nearly 5% of the population of that community lost their lives in the tsunami then. However, what happened in Fudai, the Fudai miracle, as some people call it, in a municipality just a little bit to the north, is the topic that I want to share in this video. Fudai is the smallest town in Iwate. The population now is under 3,000, and it's also just under 70 square kilometers. Both in size and population, it is a tiny area. And yet, despite that, there was a mayor that had a vision of 2 seawalls protecting the 2 inlets where the communities were against the tsunami. To help with this story, I'd like to introduce Mr. Maekawa, who is a local here in Fudai, who was born and raised here and was in Fudai at the time of the tsunami.
フダイ村で観光の仕事をしています。前川と申します。被災3県で唯一フダイ村だけが住宅被害と人的被害、この水温があるエリアですけども、一つの被害もありませんでした。直近で言うと明治 の津波と昭和の津波でもう何百人という壊滅的な被害を受けた経験があるんですけど、その昭和の津波を経験をした当時の和村村長さんが絶対に同じことを繰り返してはいけないという強い気持ちを持って取り組んだのが防災対策で、その一つが大人防潮堤の建設と普代水門の建設になります。高さもこだわったんですよね。明治の津波が 15.2 メートルの津波でしたので、高さも 15.2 メートルを超える 15.5 メートルにこだわって作っています。この普代水門もそうなんですけど、建設費用っていうのがやっぱ莫大にかかるわけなんですけど、じゃあその普代水門を建設したことによって守られる地域の世帯数といっても大体300世帯ぐらいで、人数で言ったら700人ぐらいなんですけど、それをするために、わざわざ35億6000万かかってるんですけど、当然に、反対がありました。貧しい生活をしている中でいつ来るかわからないものにお金をつぎ込むよりは、いや村長さん今の生活を良くするようにお金を使ってくださいよという意見がたくさん出たというふうに伺っています。和村さんはこの村には必要だと、この村を後世に孫の代まで、先々まで残していくためには絶対これが必要だっていうふうに確信を持って多分取り組んだ事業だと思います。普代水門ができたのが、昭和59年の、1984年、皆さんからは反対されたわけですけど、そうやって説得して繰り返した根底にはそういう思いがあって、結局、それが功を奏して3.11 の津波の脅威から村を守っていただけたというのは、もう一回職員の肝に銘じて、またその気持ちを受け継いで僕たちはハイカーなりお客様を迎える思ってます。はい。
Maekawa-san introduced me to the story of this visionary mayor. He was fighting and would seek no compromises. The seawall that he proposed cost more than 35 oku yen, which would mean in current dollars 25 million US dollars, so 25 million, but back in the 1970s. So just an incredible sum of money. And all of this was to protect a relatively small area, and yet he made it happen. And this wall was not 13 meters, not 13 and a half meters, not like many of the other walls that were in other communities popping up in Iwate Prefecture. No, he insisted that it be 15.5 meters high. Thanks to his tenacity, the way he fought for what he believed was right, his entire town was saved. No one behind that wall lost their lives, and not a single home or business behind it was destroyed. In fact, this is the only town on the entire Sanriku Coast that in the 2011 earthquake suffered no loss of homes or damages on the other side of the seawall. Of course, now the town is more just at threat of losing population due to the same things that are drawing people away from all the small communities in rural Japan. But there are a number of people that are trying to keep it strong. Mr. Maekawa is involved in tourism, as he said. And with the new MCT, that Michinoku Coastal Trail, which goes right through Fudai, more hikers are going through the area and stopping, visiting, talking with local fishermen, visiting local businesses, and hearing their story of the tsunami and of the future they're dreaming of building there. They've even developed a system of what they're calling trail angels, modeled after the AT Trail in the United States, where businesses do everything they can to help hikers, whether that's allowing them a place to wash off, get free water, all sorts of different things like that, plus selling food that they can easily carry with them. Fudai is now a real trail town along this new 1,000-kilometer trail, right near some of the most beautiful highlights on it. Of course, now in the wake of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, most municipalities have done a combination of things to prevent further loss of life in the next tsunami that will inevitably come in another 30, 40, 50 years, who's to say, right? But it will come, whether that's in 3 decades or in 5. And some of this is, of course, building houses on many of these hills and bluffs that are high above the ocean. They have deforested some parts of them and shaved off the top, and then brought the earth down from the top and used that to raise the whole ground, basically, of the lower part of the town, where they still have fishing facilities and businesses, if not homes. Today, when I was coming to try and find a place to film this video, I wanted to first interview Mr. Maekawa, which I did, and then I was going to go film this in one of my favorite areas with the tunnels, the Unosu Cliffs, but the tide was really high. I tried to go into one of my favorite spots, that little grotto, to film there, but I couldn't get there. The waves were so fierce it was impossible to cross, and I had this little bit of adventure getting partway there. Look at this. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.